for some weird reason, I missed the Ed, Edd n Eddy Big Picture show when it came out. But I rewatched it tonight. And it's intense. I mean, it's an hour and a half of slapstick and a big chase of the Eds. So a scam went horribly wrong and batters most of the kids in the neighborhood more than usual. I mean, Rolf has a big bite taken out of him. Naz has lost all her hair. Johnny's got a metal clamp on his head that, God, the way it's animated, looks like it hurts. And they're out for blood, so most of it is a mad chase, Mad Max Fury Road style, of the Eds. The Eds try to escape by going to Eddie's brother's house. Problem is, they don't know where he lives. Eddy comes up with all these excuses and reasons where they could find him, and so that's what they're up to. I can safely say it is beyond weird seeing so much of this universe, because we know the cul-de-sac and we know the school from the later seasons. Anything beyond that, it's so odd. Part of me likes it because you get to see more of the visual development, you get to see more of the world. But part of me is like, aw. Because I like the cul-de-sac and the school so much, they do so much with such few locations, that it almost seemed overkill. Part of me really wanted to know what scam did so much damage. I mean, the violence is upped in this movie. The anger and the mean-spiritedness is definitely upped in the later seasons. And then you find out, you do get to see Eddie's brother. It's also so weird to see an adult-ish character. Oh, you actually do see other adults in the show, because Johnny boards a bus as he's chasing the Eds. You get all these stories about how the other kids are chasing the Eds. Sarah and Jimmy find the cankers, and Kevin and Naz are on Kevin's bike, but Kevin likes the bike more than Naz, which pisses her off. And then you get Johnny as Captain Melonhead, and Plank, of course, as his trusty sidekick. You do get to see more of the development of Eddy. You get to see, he actually says that he doesn't like himself. He is full of so much insecurity and self-doubt. He's clearly abused by his brother. And I'm trying to picture how old the brother is. I'm at least a high school graduate, because in the background you can see a diploma on the wall. But he could be a high school graduate, college graduate, old enough to be living in a trailer at an amusement park. That's an interesting place. Huh. Wonder what life's like there. But the other kids eventually feel bad for Eddy for how bad he gets it, and they finally accept him into the group because he's finally admitted all the stuff he's done wrong, which was an attempt to get attention and attempt to fit in. I feel like a lot of us either knew that kid or were that kid. At times, I feel like a lot of people slip into that kind of person at some point, or you know that person, because I've known people like that. And it's nice to see that Eddy finally owns up to what he does. Though there are episodes where they call them all scams and they are trying to rip their neighbors off, but there's other times when it comes off more like, oh, they're just providing services for the kids just to get candy. There's a business sense in there. Maybe they'll go into business together as adults. Who knows? But yeah, it's interesting enough because I know the early seasons very, very well. It is weird. They do feel different here. They do feel more mean-spirited here. I don't know if that's just because the slapstick, because that's most of the comedy. Most of the comedy is this weird world and all the different ways they can hurt each other. Very classic violence that way. There you go. Oh, by the way, so Kevin and Naz, I see them becoming this biker couple as adults. At least for me, when I watch kids shows now, the stuff that I grew up with, I look at it and think, okay, I like to predict what they would be like at my age based on some of the people I've known through the years. I feel like the Eds are definitely going to be stoners. This is definitely popular among stoners. Double D, I feel like he'd be smoking some marijuana just to relax, because he's got such a high-strung life. I could, maybe not as much as Ed. Ed's definitely smoking all day, every day. And Eddy would definitely be the dealer of the group. Oh, wasn't there talk about Seth Rogen, James Franco, and Will Ferrell doing an Ed, and Eddy live-action movie as adults? Because I think I saw it, I don't know if it was a fake trailer or if they were really considering it, but that is funny. I'm not a really big fan of stoner flicks, but I'd probably watch that one. Anyways, it's actually almost a little hard seeing how violent some of the slapstick is, at least in this particular special. I had a similar issue with their Halloween special, which had some really cool animation. I do like the animation definitely got more stylish and more vibrant, and they got bigger. And you know, I think it was 5, 6 seasons, yeah, things change. You do switch it up just so to keep it fresh and interesting. A lot of shows do that. Yeah, some changes are for the better, some are for the worse. But I still find, even if it does feel a little bit meaner and rougher, it does still feel in character and true to what the show is. And I think I can interpret that as, oh, this guy's issues are finally catching up with him, and he chose to deal with it. Because you never see the parents, and you could look into it and say, oh, this was from a time period when kids were more free range, or you can look at it and say, wow, these kids are all from very neglectful homes, and they're bonding over that. And either one has a lot of credit in the show. But when I look at it, I always thought it took place in the 80s and 90s, although I actually saw in the background of this, I saw a cup that had the year 2000 on it, so this show clearly takes place after, I'm guessing it takes place after 2000, so maybe 90s, early 2000s, before smartphones. But that's kind of nice to see. It does still have a timeless feel, because I could easily see latchkey kids or these free-range kids in any point in time. I definitely don't think it'd be any time before the 20th century, but there's still a timelessness to a lot of these characters. The smart one, the schmoozer, the dumb one, the girl everyone has a crush on, the bratty sibling, the sexually aggressive person. I've seen male characters like that, I've seen female characters like that, and I feel like nowadays there is still more leeway towards a female character like it, because you get the Canker sisters, and I'm actually not sure how to feel about that, because assault is taken much more seriously now, or rightfully so. So but those characters are clearly played for laughs. I don't know. With the world it is, I feel like, because that type of person, you can laugh at that, as opposed to without actually condoning it. So that's what I get out of that. But still, that double standard's definitely there. But I feel like if that were a male character, or brothers going after the girls, that would be a lot harder to watch nowadays. But yeah, hey, reading too much into it, that's a conversation that's constantly being had. But overall, and even then with the Canker sisters, you can read a lot into them too, because they're half-siblings. I feel like, again, all these kinds of characters, they're familiar. There's an emotional truth to all of them. There's what's really good about this show, I think that's what made it so popular, is how it doesn't sugarcoat these kinds of characters. It feels like a very honest, realistic, and portrayal of childhood. The good, the imaginative, and the creative, what you get with the characters making all these scams, but also the kids can be cruel aspect, and the various ways that happens. Rejection from your community, and neglectful families, which even then, it's not always that clear, but you can make that argument in the show. Or jerky bullies, or siblings who always get away scot-free while you're the one who always gets in trouble. And of course, then you get all this, and the slapstick and the weirdness. I love the specific brand of weirdness this show has. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be unique. It feels like it's very organic. It feels like a throwback to classic cartoons, but with its own unique twist. Again, I've talked about before how they have noodly arms and yet obscene amounts of strength. They're going to be throwing cars at each other. But it's very clear which characters can do that and which characters can't. Or the few times the weaker characters do that, you see where it comes from. There's usually a reason for it. It's usually built up. And that's my over-analysis of this. I'm really glad I watched it, because I was always hesitant to check out some of the later seasons of Ed, Edd n Eddy, because it's different, which it has to be. But you can get a lot out of it still. I still enjoy it. Probably harder for me to sit through an hour and a half of it, but I'll still watch the 11 minutes. I'll still watch the 22 minutes. If you're nostalgic for it, it's honestly, I think it's a good show to check out. I actually wonder what kids nowadays would think of it. I'm curious, because animation is very, very different right now. The styles are very much simpler. And there is the designs are simpler. They're going for, a lot of them feel like they are very modern. I've noticed a lot of them are weird, but kind of in a very hip-hop, rave culture kind of way. There's a lot of neon colors. It feels more like a 80s, 90s throwback. I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of dance parties. That seems to be a thing. I've seen Gravity Falls and Teen Titans Go do that, and Starverses do that. We really seem to like dance parties, or at least yelling that obnoxiously. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm sure there's videos on there of kids watching older cartoons. I'm very curious to see what would they think of this one. Just out of curiosity. It's good still. If you're nostalgic for the show, I recommend giving it another look, because there's a lot of stuff you can catch now. And I don't just mean sex jokes. I mean funny references and background details. If you appreciate that stuff, go for it. It's a fun kind of weirdness.